Hello everyone. Hope all are good and taking care of yourself and family. I Poonam Patil, Assistant Professor on behalf of Konkan Gyanpith Rahul Dhaker College of Pharmacy and Research Institute Karjat, welcome all the participants and delegates on the fourth day of Student Development Program on career opportunities in various fields of pharmacy organized under KG Sanjeevani Continued Learning Webinar Series. It gives me immense pleasure to have the honor of welcoming our eminent speaker, Mr. Sachin Tadge, Assistant General Manager at Acutest Research Laboratories Private Limited. Yesterday, we looked ample of opportunities under a roof of clinical research. Today, we are going to learn about pharmacovigilance and case processing. So I request Sachin sir to proceed with the session. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Punoman, and thanks everyone for joining this session. Ajay sir, please confirm if my voice is audible to everyone,
Yes, sir, it is audible.
and my screen is also visible, right, sir?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Thanks for confirmation. So, hi friends, and good morning to everyone. So as we started yesterday, we touched base on the area of the clinical research and what are different opportunities that we have. So yesterday I saw one question before starting today's session, and I think which is related to our today's session. Okay, so I'll just cover that so that it will be clear to everyone. There was one question if I want to choose, someone asked if I want to choose a career in a clinical research, so what will be the best option? Be it PV, pharmacovigilance, be it clinical data management, be it medical writing or regulatory affair. So this was the question. So for that question, my answer is as I mentioned, these all are different field with different expertise that we require. First, everyone has to analyze yourself. Like if you are a data person, that means if you are very good in doing the data entry, if you are very good with the numbers, if you are very good with the collecting and recalling the data. So I think for those, the best choice will be a clinical data management. Those who have an interest to do some technical biostatistical analysis. Okay, so there is one opportunity, career opportunity, that is biostatistics, which is the part of our clinical research only. Pharmacovigilance is more of you need to use your technical knowledge, you need to use your you can say the reasoning, you need to use your you can say the calibration skill. So those who are very good with that, they can go for pharmacovigilance. And likewise, those who have a very good you can say the confidence on their written communication and verbal communication, those who are not making any mistake while writing emails, while writing narratives, and those who have a very good command on their verbal communication. So I will suggest the good choice will be medical writing. So likewise, we need to see, we need to check our you can say the calibration. We need to check our potential, and as per that we can select our career option. I hope that will answer yesterday's question. Okay, so what we will do today and tomorrow, I will going to cover specifically of pharmacovigilance, because I am having 10 plus years of experience in pharmacovigilance, case processing and related thing. So what we will do that, we will cover the pharmacovigilance part today. Okay, so what will be our agenda for today? Okay, so this part is already over, introduction part is already over. Okay, so today we are going to do introduction for clinical research that we already covered yesterday. Then we see the introduction of pharmacovigilance. We saw the definition yesterday. Then we see what is the principle of pharmacovigilance. The main the chapter starts from here. We need to see the what are different terminology used in pharmacovigilance. Then we need to see how the pharmacovigilance adverse drug reporting system is there. We need to see what are the type of adverse drug reaction. Then we need to see diagnosis and management of adverse drug reaction. The most and critical part is narrative writing and causality assessment scale. Okay, so I think for today we will be try to complete at least up to type of ADRs and diagnosis system, and tomorrow we'll going to cover the narrative writing causality assessment, and together for today and tomorrow we'll have question answer session. Okay, so I'll try to complete my topic within 1 hour, 10 to 15 minutes, and so that we will open for the question answer. And in between, if you have any question, you can just post in the chat box, and Ajay sir or Ramon Sol will just convey that to me. Okay, so this the part we already covered yesterday. Okay, we covered what is drug discovery that happened with preclinical and clinical trial, and clinical trial involves humans, and from where we all aware that there is concept of ICH came into picture. Okay, then we also saw a basic classification of research and data, and under data now we are going to see the pharmacovigilance. Okay, this is the clinical research graph that we saw the historical background as well, and for mainly I will say the whistleblower for pharmacovigilance concept is the thalidomide tragedy, where you can say there is a much more requirement to have analysis of all type of adverse drug reactions. Okay, so this is what we covered up to this point. We covered yesterday. Now we will see the historical background much detail, so that you can say that it will be very much clear to everyone. Okay, so as you see, we saw the history case of thalidomide. Okay, which is around 1961. So who established its program for in 1961 for international drug monitoring in response to the thalidomide disaster? What was happened? So 1961, World Health Organization, uh, they formed a program to, and they found that monitoring of adverse drug reaction are very essential part. Okay, so together with WHO, collaborating with the Center for International Drug Monitoring, Uppsala, they selected the center Uppsala, okay, which is there in Sweden, and WHO program started in all over the country. Okay, at the end of 2010, around 134 countries were the part of this program, and India is also part of this program. So we'll see that 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 also in detail, how like India is doing the PV programming and how the reporting part is done. So, what was the lesson that we learned from thalidomide disaster? Because thalidomide is directly related to formation of the PV activity. So, what was the key outcomes that we learned from that disaster? So, not all drugs good in animal. Okay, not all drugs which are good in animal are good for human. Like as we know that for preclinical study we are doing the animal testing, but it is not necessary whatever testing that we are doing on animal will be effective for human as well. So same example, thalidomide was very safe in pregnant rats. Okay, so for pregnant rats, after pregnancy there is no deformity found with their you can say the newborn rats. But as we know that in humans, there is a phocomelia, which is a very serious adverse drug reaction due to thalidomide. Okay, even very dangerous drug can be valuable if a safety measure could be followed. Okay, if we know the example of poison. Okay, so snake poison, and if we reduce the toxicity level of the poison, and that will be a very good antidote Likewise, dangerous drug can be will be a safety drug in some case. So thalidomide is very effective in the treatment of leprosy type 2 reactions. Okay, so generally thalidomide is for morning sickness, but now if the safety measures are taken care, then it is very useful in leprosy type 2 reactions. Okay. Safety measure cannot be followed 100%. Like as we know that whatever calculation we are doing, it's the we call as a benefit and risk ratio, and on that we can just give a statement. Okay, this is the drug which can be useful, but it's not 100% safe. Okay, safety measure cannot be followed in 100%. Like in some countries where the thalidomide has been used for leprosy, okay, new thalidomide children have been reported. Like in some country it is used for leprosy, okay, which is useful, but in some country there is a reaction for thalidomide, or the same reaction that was reported. So this is the lesson. Okay. So as per the thalidomide, you can say the disaster. So they conclude some points like all drugs, those who are effective in animal study, will not necessarily be effective in humans. All dangerous drug is not necessarily be dangerous for every disease or disorder if we take the safety measures, and whatever safety measures we have followed, it will be not 100% correct for every part of the world. So this is the like you can say the this is the conclusion they found with the this thalidomide disaster. So we saw definition yesterday, that pharmacovigilance. We already saw this definition, okay, and we are aware, as I mentioned yesterday also, like you will get the information on the net, but for this session, what is my expectation is that you should very much clear with the concept of the pharmacovigilance and how it's working. Okay, so yesterday we saw the definition. I'll just recall this definition. It is there in your on your screen. It defined as the science and activity relating to detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effect or any other drug-related problem. So this is very simple definition as per WHO, and uh, pharmacovigilance is directly related to your adverse drug reaction. Okay, so please note that. Okay, I hope everyone is having a notepad and pen. So I will just give a clue in between so that you will remember that what things you need to 100%ly remember while going for any type of pharmacovigilance interview. So this is the first and most important thing that you need to remember, that you need to understand the definition of pharmacovigilance. What do you mean by the pharmacovigilance? So that is a very, very essential part, because the first question you will expect from interviewer is what do you mean by pharmacovigilance? Nowadays, most of the interviewer, they don't believe in the only definition. They want to understand what you actually mean by pharmacovigilance. Okay, so for that, I think I will just explain you in short. I'll use the okay. Amol sir, please confirm me if my pen screen is visible to you, or Poonam ma'am, or
Yes, sir. It is
Ajay sir.
visible.
Yeah, this is visible, right?
It is visible, sir.
Okay, okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. Okay. Thank you. Uh, so, friends, as I mentioned, the most critical part is the definition of PV and the concept of PV that you understand. Okay, So I will just simplify this definition so that it will be very, very, you can say the very, very simplified manner, and it will be always you can just modify as per your requirement. Okay, but these are the basic thing that you must understand what do you mean by the pharmacovigilance. Okay, so pharmacovigilance, we will go the step by step, and always remember the example of thalidomide. Okay, so what was the history with the thalidomide? Thalidomide is a drug, okay, which is used during a pregnancy, okay, for morning sickness in a pregnant woman. Okay, so thalidomide is the drug, okay, used for whom? A patient, okay, or you can say the subject who is pregnant for the treatment of what? Morning sickness. But what happened? Due to thalidomide, the patient has a serious adverse effect, okay, to a newborn, okay, to the newborn. And what was the effect? The effect is phocomelia. Okay, so if you recall this complete thalidomide, you can say the sequence of the adverse drug reaction. So you will understand the definition of the pharmacovigilance. Now, what does pharmacovigilance will do? So by considering this example of thalidomide, we are going to do the detection of what? Detection of serious adverse drug reaction. Okay, detection of serious adverse drug reaction which is caused by a suspected drug. What do you mean by suspected drug? The drug due to which the adverse drug reaction is occurred. Okay, so it's a detection of serious adverse drug reaction or adverse drug reaction. These two are different terminology. We'll see this two terminology in detail. But as of now, you can just remember this: the detection of serious adverse drug reaction and adverse drug reaction, which is caused by your suspected drug, okay, which is meant to use for prophylactic. That means which is meant to use for prophylactic use, but which is giving some adverse drug reaction. Okay, so if you just want to collaborate this all different terminology in one sentence, pharmacovigilance is the activity, because this is activity. Oh, okay, this is activity, and we saw this is only for one drug and one reaction. So this is a collection of activity. uh, this is the activity scientific, and this is, we are not saying without any proof or without any evidence or without any analysis. So this is the scientific activity for collection, okay, collection of what? Adverse drug reaction and serious adverse. Then after collection, what I will do? Analysis, collection, analysis, monitoring. What does you mean by monitoring? Monitoring, that means I need to monitor if that like during a clinical trial in phase 4 first, if my drug is giving some adverse drug reaction, is that the same case in phase first, second, or phase third, or it is there only in phase first? So that way we are monitor our adverse drug reaction. It's a collection, assessment, you can say the analysis, monitoring of serious adverse drug reaction or adverse effect of a drug, adverse effect of the suspected drug, your suspected drug, and and method to minimize the adverse drug reaction. Okay, so this is a very simple thing that with the concept of thalidomide you can remember, because this is most critical part of your interview as well. So I'll just recall once more time, like pharmacovigilance is the you can say the analysis method. Okay, it's a scientific method for collection, assessment or analysis, monitoring of serious adverse drug reaction for your suspected drug, and method to minimize the adverse drug reaction. Okay, hope this is clear to everyone, because this is the important definition as per your considering your interview as well. Okay, so here we are. So scientific, it's a science and activity relating to your detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse drug effect or any other drug related problem. And pharmacovigilance heavily focus on your adverse drug reaction. Okay, so if you can see by in this picture, just to I'm trying to give a brief on how the adverse drug reaction occurring with a pharmaceutical product. Here is one side of the part is we need to see for the drug safety, and one side of part of pharmaceutical product is the mechanism of action and what is the effect on pharmacogenomics. And like while taking the drug, is there any effect on your you can say the genomic structure as well. So everything that we need to see under adverse drug reaction. Okay, I hope this definition is clear. So there is a confusion between adverse drug reaction and side effect. Okay, so most of the time I personally ask definition of pharmacovigilance, then I ask what do you mean by adverse drug reaction, and then my immediate question to the candidate is like, then what do you mean by side effect? So most of the time, candidates are confused with adverse drug reaction and side effect. So that's why I put this together. So the main difference between the side effect and adverse effect is a side effect can be either harmful or beneficial. There are many cases where some side effects are beneficial as well. Okay, so side effects are either harmful or beneficial, while adverse effect is typically harmful and undesirable. Okay, so this is the main difference between a adverse reaction and the side effect. In addition, adverse effects are more severe and life-threatening than the side effect. Okay, so it's a hardly we have any case of side effect which can cause a prolonged hospitalization or death, but there are short example of some adverse drug reactions which cause a prolonged hospitalization and death. So that's why we call that reaction as a serious adverse drug reaction. Okay, so by definition we will see the difference one more time. An adverse drug reaction is an injury caused by taking a medication. Okay, so if you see the difference that I have highlighted here, that adverse effects are generally, you can say, if you want to understand in a layman language, 80% to 90% all adverse drug reactions are harmful and undesirable, whereas some side effects are not necessarily harmful. Okay, So adverse drug reaction generally cause injury by taking the medication. Adverse drug reaction may occur following a single dose, maybe with a single dose or prolonged administration of the drug, or result from the combination of two or more. Okay, and what does side effects stand? A secondary and usually adverse effect. So there is a difference between adverse drug reaction and adverse effect. Okay, so adverse effect is maybe or may not be related to your pharmaceutical drug. Okay, but adverse drug reaction is typically related to your drug. So that's why side effects are usually adverse effect, or if it is confirmed with if there is any drug which is a toxic side effect, a side effect of drowsiness caused by antihistamine. So I have given just example just to understand. Drowsiness is caused by antihistaminic drug. Okay, so just to remember, if anyone anytime if you face the interview and they will ask you, so what is different is adverse drug reaction and side effects. So you have to just highlight that adverse drug reaction are generally harmful and undesirable, whereas some side effects are useful. Okay, and side effects are not life threatening or which can cause the death, but adverse drug reaction are sometimes life threatening and which can cause death. Okay, so I hope you will now this difference is very much clear to you. So this thing we already covered yesterday. There is what is the need to have a pharmacovigilance system, because as we know that because in clinical trial or not related to clinical trial, if you recall, PV is mostly came into the picture where the drug are marketed. Okay, it's a phase 4 clinical trial where more majority of there are huge population who are exposed, who has the exposure for the drug, and it's not necessary that only phase 4 clinical trial is a is related to pharmacovigilance. There are some phase 1, 2, and 3. If any adverse drug and serious adverse drug reactions are there during the trial, that also we need to monitor. Excuse me. That also we need to monitor and report to regulatory authority. So, what is the need to that we have for pharmacovigilance? Because it is having human concern, because it's directly related to the life of the patient. Then ADR may cause sudden death, as I mentioned, some adverse drug reaction which are such a such a severity they can cause the death. Okay, and we should rationalize the use of medicines and its adherence, as we know the example of cough syrup as well. Okay, cough syrup have some hypnotize effect, which is because which have some receptors in the brain, and which has the effect of feel good factor. Those who are drug addict, they generally prefer to have a cough syrup, but we should rationalize the use of medicine as well. Okay, and yes, there should be a ethical rules and regulation whenever if any drug is such a harmful to the patient, then there has to be some action taken for that drug. So that's why PV system are very essential. Okay, so this is the overview of, as I mentioned, that program was started in Uppsala, like in 1961. WHO formed the centers for monitoring of the drug adverse drug reaction. Okay, so how it was worked in India? It was started in 1961 in Uppsala Center. Then ADR monitoring system, if you see here, okay, if you see here, if you see here, ADR monitoring system for India proposed 12 regional centers. So for that program, they identify the 12 regional center in the India. It was the case in from 1982 to 1989. In 1997, India joined WHO ADR monitoring program. So they form for this program, they form three centers. Okay, one is AIMS Hospital, which is there in Delhi. One is KM Hospital, the KM Hospital from Mumbai, and this is the Naira Hospital, JLN. This is the Naira Hospital. Okay, so luckily I was a part of this program in 2007. So I was on a contractual basis, where I got the first exposure for this field of pharmacovigilance in 2007. So I was worked for this program for 6 months. So I got a good exposure to understand the things, how it is working for pharmacovigilance in India. And just to remind you, this is a program run by our Indian government, CDS. Okay. So in 2004 and 2008, National Pharmacovigilance Program has been started. So I was a part of this program. Okay, because in 1997 only center was identified, but the actual process started from 2004 to 2008, and 2010 it's actively started all over the India. Pharmacovigilance program actively started in India. Okay. So we'll move to our next topic, pharmacovigilance and related terminology. Okay, so we already see the definition. We already covered the definition of adverse drug reaction. Okay, so adverse drug reaction are any untoward medical occurrence with a pharmaceutical product which have effect or impact on patient health. Then we need to see what is the serious adverse event. Okay, and then we'll see the analysis also. Then we'll this is those who are listening, just make a note that these are some important terminology that are used, these are the use generally at the time of interview. So you can just keep a note of all this terminology. Okay, adverse drug reaction. So we saw the definition. Then serious adverse event. So what do you mean by serious adverse event? So there are major 5 categories. If this 5 categories are there, any of 5 categories or any of out of that 5 events are there, then we call that event as serious adverse event. We will see that on later portion. Then we need to see how the cases are reported in pharmacovigilance. It means how we do the collection of the cases, and then how we do the processing as well. Then we are going to see how the causality assessment has been done for that. Then we need to see what is company core safety information. Okay, so this is specifically for the each company. They need to create their own protocol. We need to see that first major part of pharmacovigilance is the data entry and processing of the cases, and second major part is writing a narrative summary for overall case. And we already saw the database yesterday, like AWARE, REG, and Argus. So these are the universal database generally used for pharmacovigilance activity all over the world. Okay. Now we'll move on to our definition of serious adverse event. So this is a second important definition. You will expect this definition at the time of your interview. You can just note down. The serious adverse event are the event which result into out of this 5 category. Okay, first category is result into death. Second, the event which cause life threatening, you can say, like any anomaly or any adverse drug reaction which cause patient life threatening, you can say the disability to the patient. For example, by taking any drug, if there is a paralysis attack on with the patient, okay, during clinical trial, and if half portion of that patient is paralyzed, so this is the life threatening event for that patient, which required inpatient hospitalization or prolongation of the existing hospitalization. That means while taking any drug, like as I mentioned, we'll see same example. If the patient is taking drug and if the patient got epileptic attack, then the patient has to be hospitalized for that. Or the patient is already hospitalized, and if that patient is taking any drug, the hospitalization is prolonged because they need to cure that adverse drug reaction. So this is a third category of serious adverse event. The event which results in the persisting or significant disability and incapacity. What do you mean by disability or incapacity? Incapacity. So, for example, due to any drug, if there is significant disabilities, for example, as I mentioned, we'll take the same example. Okay, like life-threatening means there will be a permanent illness which is there with that patient, like till life, till his lifetime. Okay, in some case, while taking drug, if suppose uh, one portion is for example, by taking some drug, there is loss of hearing capacity, so that is disability. If a patient is taking some drug, due to which one, like a right hand is not working properly, so that is also disability or incapacity. And the last one is the congenital anomaly and birth defect or medically significant event. So we have the example of thalidomide here, where pregnant woman is taking drug, but the pregnant woman is not having any adverse drug reaction, but the adverse drug reaction is there with their newborns. So we can say that is a congenital anomaly, birth defect, and medically significant event. Okay, so as this is a very important definition, we'll just I'll elaborate everything one more time, because this is important as per your interview point of view also, and as per your understanding point of view for the concept of pharmacologies. I'll explain this with pen. Give me a okay. Okay, so we are understanding the concept of SAE, okay, serious adverse event. So, as we know, adverse drug reaction, we already understood. Adverse drug reactions are unwanted, undesirable, okay, event to the patient, okay, which cause harm, okay. So this is simple definition for adverse drug reaction. So any adverse drug reaction will be a serious adverse drug reaction, or you can say that serious adverse event, okay, when due to your suspected drug. So always remember this terminology. Suspected drug means a drug which is causing we are suspecting, which is causing either serious adverse drug reaction or the adverse drug reaction, okay. So serious adverse reactions are the event which cause First, death. There are some reports available where due to a suspected drug there is a death in the patients. Okay. Second, life threatening means what? While taking the suspected drug, for example, as we this is a simple example. Generally we know for the cancer patient, if the patient is on chemotherapy, okay, the first reaction, serious adverse reaction that we can see, there is hair loss. So hair loss of hair for that cancer patient is a life-threatening event, because if the patient is continuously on the chemotherapy, okay, there will be a completely, you can say, the hair loss with that patient. So this is a life-threatening event for that patient. Okay. Third one, we saw, it's due to any adverse reaction. If there is a hospitalization, as I mentioned, if the patient is taking phenytoin drug, which is generally used to reveal epilepsy, for the treatment of epilepsy, but that patient is got the adverse reaction of rash all over the body, and these rashes are so severe, there is a continuous itching to all over the body, and due to which patient is not feeling comfortable and he has to be hospitalized. So it will be a hospitalization, or if the patient is already hospitalized and patient is taking this phenytoin, okay, and for epilepsy, but patient is already hospitalized, but he got such a type of itching all over the body that there will be blood from all over, like the skin, due to itching. So hospitalization is prolonged. So prolonged hospitalization. Okay. So first one is the reaction which can cause the death. Second one, which the event is life threatening. Okay. Third one is which is causing hospitalization or prolonged hospitalization. Okay. Fourth one, which cause the disability or incapacity. Okay. Incapacity. As I explained you the example, if by taking any drug, if there is a loss of vision, okay, vision is lost or hearing capacity is lost, this comes under a disability or incapacity. And fifth one we understood, like with the example of thalidomide. The thalidomide is taken by a pregnant woman, but the reaction, serious adverse reaction with their child's, which cause a phocomelia, which is the hands and limb syndrome, and which is serious. Okay, so this is the like you can say the detailed explanation of what you mean by serious adverse drug reaction, and this is very important definition after your definition of pharmacovigilance. Okay, so I hope this is very much clear to everyone. Then we will see the classification of adverse drug reaction. Okay, so the generally those who are appearing for an interview as a fresher, okay, generally those who are experienced in the pharmacovigilance, if they have already 1 or 2 years of experience, so generally generally they will not ask a basic question, but like most of you will going for an interview first time as a fresher. So this is the third important question that you should remember while appearing for an interview. This is like what are the different type of adverse drug reactions are there. Okay, so you can see total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 type of adverse drug reactions are there. So this is the classification of adverse drug reaction. That okay, the first class, and all these are self-explanatory, so we will not go into much detail because these are simple. Just you need to recall the type and what does each type related with that. Okay, so type A, the type of reaction is you can say around 50% of adverse drug reaction are type A related, because which is dose related. Okay, and as this reaction is dose related, so there will be expected, okay, so there will be expected outcome for that adverse drug reaction. Okay, for example, this is we'll just go. I'll just explain you in short. Type A is a dose related, which is an expected reaction and extension of pharmacological effect. Okay, if we continue giving the dose to a patient, there will be expected adverse drug reaction and which cause the extension of pharmacological effect. Example is salbutamol. Okay, which cause the tachycardia in the patient. If we give the salbutamol one dose, you will see the tachycardia with the patient. And if you continuously giving the salbutamol to rest of the patient, you will see the same type of tachycardia with all type of patients. And if you continue giving the dose, okay, so you can expect it to see this tachycardia in most of the patient, as I mentioned, because it's not 100% applicable everywhere, but you will see the expected reactions of tachycardia. So in simple word, type A adverse drug reaction is dose related. If you give the dose, you will see the adverse drug reaction, as simple as it is. Okay, type 2 is non-dose related. Okay, that is, as this is non-dose related, we are unable to see or we are unable to identify whether the reaction is due to our drug or due to some other factor, or we may identify the type of reaction is related to our drug, but we are not able to judge or analyze in what dose, in what amount that reaction is there. So that's why it's more serious, because if you see in type A, for example, if I am giving 200 mg of salbutamol, so there is a tachycardia, okay, with 200 mg. If I reduce my dose to 100 mg, I can see the reaction, adverse drug reaction of tachycardia is reduced very drastically, okay, because this is dose related. But if I am unaware, okay, or if I am reducing the dose also, but there is no reduction or there is no, you can say, minimization of adverse drug reaction, then we call as this is non-dose related. This is type B, and which is more serious. Okay, so here is the example of penicillin, which caused the rash. But as I mentioned, I was there in Nair Hospital, and uh, I was working under the pharmacovigilance program. So I do report the cases from Nair Hospital, and I do report cases. There are cases coming from Gujarat and Maharashtra. So I need to do the causality assessment for that as well. So in Nair Hospital, I came across the same type of reaction with the patient, and it's a type 2 reaction, because there is one department of anti-epileptic and antipsychotic department where patients are taking phenytoin drug for epileptic attack. Some patients are taking 300 mg, some patients are taking 200 mg, some patients are taking 500 mg of phenytoin. But with all doses, there are same type of rashes all over the body. So this is not dose related, but definitely if they stop the drug, the rash will stop. Okay, so it's not dose related, but it's a drug related. So this is type B. Hope this is clear to everyone. Then we have type C, which is dose and time related. Okay, related to cumulative drug use. That means, uh, suppose like if I am taking any drug, like we'll take the example of NSAIDs only, okay, aspirin, hmm? where the patient are taking aspirin, uh, like generally aspirin are given to have to dissolve the clots, and there should not be blockage into the heart, veins and arteries. Okay, so it is recommended to take aspirin twice in a day. So whenever patient is taking aspirin twice in a day, okay, there is a reaction of neuropathy, the effect on neurons. Okay, sorry, nephropathy. There is some effect on your kidney. Okay, and as we are taking this drug twice in a day, so the same type of reaction is there with the group of the patient. And if you reduce the drug and the frequency, you will see the reaction will decrease. So we'll say that this is dose and time related. This is type C. Type D, it's a delayed effect. Okay, what do you mean by the delayed effect? Delayed effect means if you have, if you are taking drug, you will not see an immediate effect of that drug, an immediate adverse drug reaction, but you will see the effect later on, after some time, maybe after some months or maybe after some year. And most of the time these are a carcinogenic effect or teratogenic genicity. We will take the example of same thalidomide, where pregnant women are taking the drug for morning sickness. So pregnant women are not suffering from any adverse drug reaction, but her newborn is having phocomelia disease, which is prolonged effect, delayed effect of that drug, but the effect is related to your suspected drug. We have the example of thalidomide. Okay, then type E is end of use due to withdrawal. If we stop any drug, you can see the reaction. Okay, I'll give you a simple example, which is not a drug actually, but just to understand you, those who are alcoholic, those who are having addiction of alcohol, and if they stop taking alcohol, if any person is taking alcohol daily, and if they stop taking the alcohol, you can see the withdrawal symptom. They are like they are irritating. Their bowels are continuously they have the pain, and they like in any way they want to have alcohol. So that are the withdrawal symptoms. Just to understand, we have the example of Addison's crisis after if we withdraw the steroids. Okay, and then the last one is type F, is a failure of therapy. Okay, so what do you mean by the failure of therapy? If we are giving a drug for any specific cause, or drug for treatment for any specific, you can say the signs and symptoms or maybe disease, but if it is not showing any effect or there is no impact on that particular disease or disorder, and there is some other reactions, so this comes under the failure of therapy. Prescription diagnosis, you can say maybe misselection of the medicines or doses, failure of therapy. These are some causes where due to which the failure of therapy may occur. Okay, maybe prescription is not correct, whatever diagnosed, like the patient is suffering from acidity. Okay, and no, sorry, the patient is suffering from some heart problem, and if the diagnosis is not correct, the patient may in future they may have a cardiac attack as well if the diagnosis is not done properly. Then misselection of medicine, if the proper medicine is not selected or maybe dose is not selected, which may cause the failure of therapy and which may have an adverse drug reaction. So these are, I mean, 6 type of areas type A, B, C, D, and E and F. So I hope this is very much clear to everyone. So I'll take a pause here, and well, it's 1 hour. So if anyone is having any questions, okay, you can just post, and we can quickly answer some question of 5 minutes, and then we'll continue with our next uh, remaining topic. So Ajay sir, I'm also you can just pose the question if you have anyone is having any question. So, okay, I can see the question from Swati. Sir, if we didn't able to join a certification courses in pharmacovigilance and clinical research, how to directly apply in a good pharmacovigilance and clinical research organization? Because every time we didn't know when the vacancies are open in the company, how to directly apply. And sir, what is this? INSEP company is a clinical research organization or core pharmacovigilance company. Okay. So regarding your first part, yes, those who want to apply for a field of pharmacovigilance, most of the time, if you have your colleagues or maybe your seniors, those who are already working in a pharmacovigilance or maybe working in some CROs, okay. So if they are working and generally they receive a mail for interview, whenever there is an interview, every organization share the mail like there will be an interview next week or some day. Then they need to inform to their friends or colleagues, because most of the time those who organization generally in Cognizant and TCS, they prefer to take freshers. So they generally share the information with their team members, and they are asking to have nominations and like interviewers from their friend circle. Okay, so from them, from like with the contact with your seniors and colleagues, you can have the information. The second option, like most of jobs are posted on Naukri, so I will suggest do not go for any paid option, because as a fresher, we are very much excited to take a job, wanted to join any organization, and for that, we may go for a paid option. But I'll suggest you, because if anyone is asking for any fees for your placing to some organization, so most of the time they are fraud. So do not invest your money, your parents' money, in such a blunders. They are not useful. Only those who are fresher, the only way that you need to approach for interview to is through your friends, those who are already working, those who are already working with some organization, be it any department like pharmacovigilance or any. And second option that you can explore, what I tried myself when I was searching for job, you can go for each and every company's website, like Cognizant, TCS, Parent Pharma, and there will be a career option over there, and you can see some jobs are posted over there. And third important option that you have is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is also there, where some jobs are posted. Okay, so as a fresher, you need to see, you need to explore yourself, and you need to find out your own way. But I will just remind everyone one more time: do not go for any paid option, because 90% paid option are not useful, although they are calling from Naukri or some consulting firm. At the most, you can say, okay, if I get selected from your consultant firm, I will pay your fees later on. But then also, I will suggest do not go for any paid option. Okay. I can see a next question from Abhijit. Sir, how does a side effect can be beneficial? Okay. So as with the same thalidomide, if you recall that slide, thalidomide are used like having adverse drug reactions. So with the adverse drug reaction of thalidomide, there is a you can say the adverse drug reaction with the fetus, the serious adverse drug reaction of phocomelia. But if we work on the toxicity part, and if you reduce the severity of, or as per the dose calculation, then thalidomide are very useful in leprosy type 2. Okay, so the side effect of thalidomide by reducing the dose content and concentration is for the treatment of leprosy. Likewise, if you, I will give the simple example. The poisons, the snake poison is whenever like the snake bite, so there is a certain death if that poison is very severe, like toxic, generally for those cobras and all that. But from same poison, because if you see, take snake poison as a drug, and due to that drug there is a death. But if you reduce the toxicity level, that then it will be a good antidote. So there are, it's not necessary all side effects are beneficial, but there are some side effects which are beneficial, and as per their you can say the potential use, we need to reduce their toxicity level, and then we need to use for the treatment of any good cause or disease or disorder. I hope that answer is clear to you. Any more question? So I can see one question here. After Farm D, whether we need to join any academy or like academy. Farm D, I think the Farm D is a 6-year course, right? Which include your B Farm and M Farm together. And I think it's a 6 to 7 year course. So I don't think there is if you want to join any academy, like if you want to join any institute as a career option, you can go. Okay, but if you want to apply for any job, it will be the same procedure for everyone. Like if be it B Farm student, be it M Farm student, or be it any profession. One more question is there. As the COVID-19 crisis is there, so what is the future scope for pharmaceuticals? I think the same point I discussed yesterday, I will just recall that point. Yes, COVID-19 crisis is there all over the world. Okay, and everyone is struggling to have a very good option in the same situation. But as I mentioned, like until unless we have human life on the planet, so there is a very huge requirement to have a good treatment for all this type of unexpected. You can see that this is an unexpected event. Okay, where this is a viral infection, and now everyone is struggling to find out the good treatment for that. That means as a healthcare professional, everyone is aware, like we have to still, we are very you can say that we are very less equipped to fight any viral and bacterial infection. If you recall, like there are some year back we have a Tamiflu attack also, where everyone is struggling with the swine flu, where then Roche has his drug Tamiflu, which is useful for swine flu. So likewise, there will be a many more opportunity for pharmacovigilance, because we are getting many type of drug reaction. We are getting many type of new things which are coming up. And like if with the which is like I'm relating the same with the previous question, like how does the side effect is beneficial. So there are many drugs which are having a serious side effect for a treatment for which they are prepared, but they are useful for some other type of you can say the disease and disorder. Like in case of hydroxychloroquine, okay, it is useful in malaria also, but now we are looking for the option, is that the useful for COVID viral infection. So that is that is there. So there are many scope, like because world has to prepare themselves for all type of bacterial and viral infection in future as well. And so there is a huge requirement to have a new molecule in the market, and there is a huge requirement to have existing molecule to be get modified for a better treatment. So yes, there will be a huge opportunities for a pharmacovigilance professor as a profession in future. Not only the pharmacovigilance, I will say the clinical research as whole will have a good career option in future. Okay, so there is one more question from Anushka Tyagi. How companies like Accenture as a outsourcing company are going to change the pharmacovigilance in future? Should we concern about the job being taken away by it professional? I don't think, because it depend on because Accenture, TCS, Cognizant, these all are outsourcing company. Okay, and like in India, after China, we are the second most population who is doing the outsourcing business. For the rest of the world, it's very difficult to have done all clinical research activity at their places. The first and most important factor is the cost, and the second most important factor is the environmental impact. Okay, so most of the professional are not looking for the fact that only India is having all three season divided equally. There will be a plus minus of 1 month here and there, but like we have a summer for 4 months, we have winter for 4 months. Likewise, we have all three seasons equally divided, which will have a very good physiological impact for all clinical trials. So that's why the first and most choice for any clinical trial to be done is the first most choice will be the India. And as the clinical trial part, some parts are taking care of in India, it will be convenient for any pharma company to divide the rest of the part in different sections within India only. Because as a if I am the owner of a pharma company, so I will always prefer to have my all data, everything in one place. For most of the pharma company all over the world, India is the best choice. And yeah, it will you can say there will be some impact due to COVID situation initially, but you will come to know that there will be a good opportunities and good option on later days, because companies are still everyone is still fighting with the COVID all over the world. It will take time, but job will be there, and I will assure you, you will have more jobs in future due to COVID situation. Okay. One more question from Mahesh, that today we are struggling with the lockdown, sir. Is there any courses which can be completed online in the pharmacovigilance? Yes, definitely there are some online courses. Like there are some foreign universities. They are offering some courses, but I will just suggest everyone, because you all are freshers, and I know, like from career point of view, you are very much concerned, like what will be your career, like once you complete your graduation, post graduation, and how you need to apply. And during this COVID situation, there are no interviews going on anywhere, and this situation will be there for some more days in future. So what I suggest, like the same question is there with some other person as well, like you can definitely do some certification courses. You need to explore that. There are many certification courses available online. Okay, there are some e-courses also available online, but I will only suggest, do not go for any higher amount, because if you are doing any certification courses which is there for 5,000 or 2,000, and if any courses are offered to you which is there for more than 50,000, 30,000, likewise, just to see the content, what they are going to cover, see what they are going to offer you, and see for how long, and see if they are giving you the surety that they will do the placement. So you need to take this all important factor, because there are many fraud. You can say the small units are available on web. They are just checking for, they are taking your data from Naukri, they are taking your data from whenever where you register for your jobs, and they will contact you and they will say like, we will offer you some certification courses for 10,000, 50,000, and they will like to ask you to do the payment. But I don't think that will be worth enough to spend more money if it is not value added for your career. So whatever call you are taking for related to for any certification courses, I will suggest you just go check the content, check how that course is going to be there, how they are, is there any internship program available, if any internship program is available, and if they are assuring you about the placement, then only I will ask you, I will suggest you to take your decision. Okay. So I think these are the good enough. Now we can move to our next session, and at the end of session, if anyone is having any question, we'll discuss that as well. Okay. So we are here till this point. Give me a minute. I will have a sip of water. Okay, so as I mentioned, so this is very much important to know about what are the career opportunities for everyone in the future. But what I suggest you, whenever you are going for any type of interview or career option, make sure you should have all concepts very much clear for preparing for any interview, because nowadays competition is more. You can see there is many different areas are coming up, and there are many competition now. Like initially the pharmacovigilance or clinical research is only restricted to doctors. Now any life science graduate can go there and explore their career. Now pharmacist, BSc, MSc, and I can like recently I can I have some data for engineers also. They are doing some SAS programming, they are doing some certification courses, and they are exploring their career in the field of clinical research as well. So competition is definitely there. But what will be the thumb rule? If you are appearing for any interview, make sure that you consider that your first and last interview. Likewise, prepare yourself for any field of clinical research, like be it pharmacovigilance, CDM, clinical data management, medical writing, regulatory affairs, signal detection, anywhere you want to go. Whenever you came to know about any interview, for example, if it is for pharmacovigilance, make sure you will gone through each and everything of pharmacovigilance. What is there in India? What is there outside? What are the current recent cases of pharmacovigilance? What are the some new development is done in the field of pharmacovigilance? You should know each and everything. I know the any field will be endless. There are many information, but at least you should go on through all important things. Now, as I'm covering pharmacovigilance today and tomorrow, I will assure those who are attending this webinar, they will have 90% of clarity about what is the pharmacovigilance. And if you are very well understood these 2 days sections, including your yesterday's sessions, okay, I will assure you, you will crack any interview of pharmacovigilance or you can say the clinical research if you are going for CRO. So all basic concepts will be covered. Already I covered some concept, and for today and tomorrow I will cover a majority part of pharmacovigilance. So I will cover 90%. Only 10% is required from your end, and that 10% is your you can say a vigilant approach for all terminology of pharmacovigilance. Whatever I am covering, make sure you can note that in your mind also, in your notebook also, and wherever you are going for any pharmacovigilance interview, make sure whatever I covered, you can just gone through that. I'm sure you will 100% crack that interview. So this is a very good opportunity given by your college and Open Gambit College for everyone, those who are not part of this college as well. So be focused, be clear your whatever thoughts, and you can say the thoughts or maybe queries or questions that you have related to pharmacovigilance by today and tomorrow. This is a very good opportunity for you. And yes, I will definitely guide you in future as well, because like I am sharing my contact details with the college. They will definitely share with you, and will, if anyone wants any guidance in future also, will definitely have that to be taken care. Okay, so we are here till this point. So we already saw the type of adverse drug reaction. So we saw six type of adverse drug reaction: type A, B, C, D, E, and F. Okay, so always remember whatever I am covering in today and tomorrow section, it's directly related to your interview. First thing, whenever you are appearing for pharmacovigilance, except all this thing, hardly there will be some another question which is related to pharmacovigilance. Okay, the first thing, this is your preparation of interview also, and second thing, this is a preparation of your concept of pharmacovigilance. Whenever you go to any field, if anyone asks you what do you mean by pharmacovigilance, I'm sure you can able to explain very well. So this will work in two way. Okay, so we'll see how the pharmacovigilance concept is working in India. As I mentioned, so there is a national level program with the collaboration of WHO, which was started in 1998, and which is actually implemented in 2004. Okay, so this is the program how it's working. So the first step is ADR monitoring center. So they have created the ADR monitoring center. As I mentioned, there are one zonal center is there, which is the government hospital in Delhi. It's AIMS hospital. There are two regional centers. One zonal center in Mumbai, that is KM hospital, which is collecting the data from all over the states, and one regional center is the Nair hospital. There are some centers available in Ahmedabad and different part of the our country. So all this ADR monitoring center is collecting the information. Okay, they are collecting the information of adverse drug reaction. All adverse drug reaction are collected in ADR monitoring center, where the data entry has been done. If there are some follow-up reports, so we need to see what do you mean by the follow-up reports. We need to see how the cases are collected, everything. Okay, but if there are some follow-up reports are available, that also need to collected in ADR monitoring center. Okay, then all these reports are sent to a national pharmacovigilance coordinator. Okay, means all reports from regional and zonal center from KM has to be sent to Delhi office, that is AIMS hospital in Delhi. Okay, that they will do the review. They will review the completeness if all the ADR reports are filled properly, if everything is the listed, whatever the drug reactions are reported, whether the data entry is done properly, everything they will review. They will do the quality check. They will do the causality assessment. We will see what do you mean by the causality assessment. Then they will transmit all ADRs to VG Flow. There is one database which is created specifically for pharmacovigilance program in India. Okay, and if there is any gap, or if there are some missing information, then feedback has to be given to ADR monitoring center. If suppose I receive a form, Delhi AIMS receive one form which is incomplete, so information related to drug is incomplete, or the information related to treatment is incomplete, or the information related to adverse drug reaction is incomplete, they will give the feedback to ADR monitoring center, and then they will again go and collect that information. They will send back to them. Okay. Along with that, AIMS has to be educate and inform the medical community via medical safety newsletter. So whatever adverse drug reactions are collected by AIMS hospital from all over the India, okay, they need to inform all medical officials by some newsletter. Like we have a newspaper, general newspaper, which is covering all information. So there are medical medical safety related newspaper. So whatever adverse drug reaction, new adverse drug reactions are there, or any historical data is there, it has been be published in the newsletter, and it is communicated to all over the India for medical professionals, so that they will aware about the adverse drug reaction. Okay. Then consulting the signal review committee. If suppose what do you mean by the signal, that will also we will discuss. Okay. And reporting to a DCGI, Drug Control General of India officer. If suppose one pharma company is there, they are producing a drug which is painkiller, but that painkiller drug causing a severe adverse drug reaction to the patient, and that serious adverse drug reaction is life threatening, then AIMS is reporting that adverse drug reaction to DCGI, and then Drug Control of India, which is the part of your Central Drug Control Standard Organization, okay, which is a regulatory body. They will ask DCGI to take some action on that pharmaceutical company. Okay. Then zonal CDSCO center provide administrative support to all ADR monitoring. So whatever supports are required, it has been given by our regulatory body. Then what does CDSCO, Center Standard Control Organization, do? Report to DTAB, a Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Okay, that we found some serious adverse drug reaction with some pharmaceutical company, and we took some action. So they need to inform them. Then formulate and communicate the safety related regulation decision for medicines. So this is our India's regulatory authority who is taking all these steps to have a control on all adverse drug reaction and related safety things. So this is for India, how it is working. So same way it is working for rest of the world. In US, it will be work for US FDA, but they will have a different rules and regulation. But we discuss, as we are in India, we should be aware how this is working. So this is the part. And you may expect question from an interviewer that do you know a regulatory authority from India and what they are doing and how they are reporting the adverse drug reaction. So you need to explain this process. This is process flow for India. Okay. We'll move on to a next topic, and this is very, very important topic. Processing of your adverse drug reaction in pharmacovigilance system. Please pay please pay your attention, because this is very, very important from your interview point of view also, and for your understanding point of view as well. So this is basic workflow for any pharmacovigilance process. Okay. So I'll explain this and I will take a pause here for today because the rest of the part we will complete tomorrow. Okay, so I will explain this graph in short and then I will explain that same graph in the word. That will be very, you can say, very much in simplified manner. Okay, so please note that there are type of cases. Okay, there are cases, different cases are there. What do you mean by the cases? Like we are reporting the adverse drug reaction. Okay, so from where we are getting that adverse drug reaction cases? Okay, so for that they called as source of cases. Okay, so there are two type of sources. I think I will explain that you on pent and then I will come to here because after that only you will understand what is this. Okay, so I will explain here. Okay, okay, hope everyone able to see my screen. So now we are here. Okay, okay, now we are looking for processing of, okay, pharmacovigilance cases. Okay, so there are two type of sources for adverse drug reaction reporting. Okay, so what are these two type of sources? One is solicited source. This is also called as a structured source. Okay, I'm not writing full name because I'm using pen and it's not that user friendly, so you can just note at your like in your notebook the type of sources. In interview you may have this question, you can expect this question: what are the type of cases? Okay, we call it as case means a single adverse drug reaction. If I want to report, so we call that as a single case. So what are the type of cases generally we process in pharmacovigilance? Okay, and for that type of cases there are two type of sources. So type of cases that we generally process in pharmacovigilance are clinical trial type of cases we are processing and spontaneous cases we are processing. Okay, what do you mean by clinical and spontaneous? So whatever adverse drug reaction or serious adverse drug reaction are occurring during the clinical trial from phase 1 to phase 3. Okay, and for some drugs phase 4 is already started. Okay, so whatever type of adverse drug reaction or serious adverse drug reaction occurred during the clinical trial, that we need to report to a pharmacovigilance department, that is called as clinical trial cases. And there are some spontaneous cases. These are the cases, means these are the reports of ADR or SAE, serious adverse event, generally for all post-marketing product, or you can say the drug which is already there in market. Okay, so whatever adverse drug reactions or serious adverse drug reactions occurred for the drug which is already there in market, and we are getting, if we are getting reports from that, it's called as spontaneous reports. And whatever coming from clinical trial, it's called as clinical trial reports. With the same line, all spontaneous cases are unstructured or unsolicited. Okay, and all clinical trial cases are, as I mentioned here, okay, are solicited or structured. Okay, so where, like here I'm explaining the same. What do you mean by the structure and solicited? Means there is a proper format available you can say the form available, we called as CRF. Okay, it's a case report form or any other form available to report adverse drug reaction or serious adverse drug reaction, and this is generally under clinical trial. So whatever reports are there from clinical trial and which is there in any form, a specific form, which is a structured form. Okay, that's why this is called as structured or solicited type of reports, which is generally from clinical trials. But in case of spontaneous, okay, in case of spontaneous, the data is not structured format, or you can say it's unstructured or unsolicited. That means, what do you mean by the spontaneous reporting? For example, today I am taking some drug as a painkiller, but I got a severe stomach pain. Okay, so what I will do, I will go on Facebook and I'll just report to my friends, like to inform my friend, like I am taking some drug as a painkiller with the brand name, but I got a severe stomach pain. Okay, so I just posted my comment on Facebook. Okay, but it's not a structure format. I just write today. I feel like I am having a pain in my legs, so or maybe pain in my neck. So I took some like a analgesic drug, but due to that I got a similar stomach pain. So I will suggest do not take this drug. So this is a spontaneous reporting. Okay, so spontaneous reporting is the type of reporting which is done by either patient himself or by patient relatives or by patient doctor. If suppose some doctor recommended some brand of drug for pain, but if that brand of drug is giving some adverse drug reaction, then that doctor will report to that pharma company that I am writing your drug, but it's showing some adverse drug reaction. So this spontaneous report has been reported by either patient, relative, doctor. It can be posted on social media. It can be from lawyer. How in case of the lawyer, like if suppose due to some treatment, patient is hospitalized, okay, and patient want to file a case with that pharmaceutical company, then he filed the case, then that lawyer will report that event to Indian court also, and they need to report to a regulatory authority also to take some action. So this is called a spontaneous reporting. Okay, I hope this is very much clear to everyone because this is very important. Okay, so I will just explain you the same workflow, so that will be very much you can say the clear to everyone. So we are reporting the adverse drug reaction or serious adverse drug reaction from two sources. One is solicited, another is unsolicited. You can say solicited from clinical trial and unsolicited from spontaneous reporting. Okay, so we receive all information in the form of a form, any form or description in case of spontaneous reporting. So we receive that information, then we receive that information in a database. If you recall my yesterday topic, there are two type of database. Okay, one is universal database and one is customized database. We already discussed the same thing. Universal database is your aware, okay, RHG, all start, everyone, like all three start from A. And Argus. Okay, these are the universal database generally used in PV reporting data. You can say the processing of the cases, and there are some customized database because these are Oracle database and which can handle huge amount of data. Okay, if suppose any pharma company wants to do the PV activity for his more than, you can say, 100 products, okay, they will go for this universal database because universal database is having capacity to handle huge amount of data. But suppose any small company is there which is having only one or two product, they will go for customized database. They will customize their database as per their requirement. Okay, the best example that we have like VG Flow for India, as I mentioned. VG Flow is the customized database used by Central Control Standard Organization for monitoring of the adverse drug reactions. Okay, so we are till this point. Okay, we are till this point. Just you, okay. Those who want to note down, they can note down a simple workflow. Okay, so we are getting reports from either spontaneous or, sorry, either from structure or clinical trial or unstructured, that is unsolicited from spontaneous. So all adverse drug reaction or serious adverse drug reaction we are entering into the database. Okay, this is the database. So database, the universal database like RAG, Argus, okay, and Aware, they have a facility. They will do some auto data fill entry, okay, and some we need to do the data entry. Okay, so what are some basic autofill entry? This universal database will do the patient initial. Make sure we never ever disclose the name of the patient. Only in some, as per the requirement of, you can say, the regulatory affair, we just enter initial. And most of the country, they are not putting the initial as well. Then we put either sex, like the patient is male or female. Then we need to put the age, and then we need to put the weight and date of birth, just to calculate the accurate age of the patient, weight and height. Okay, so these are some basic information that is auto-filled in universal database when the data is entered from these two sources. Along with that, there are some autofill like drug initial name, that is your suspect drug initial name, then event entry. Okay, so there are some autofill which is already done. So I am explaining the process of how we are processing the cases in pharmacovigilance. This is a, you can say, the basic process flow which is generally used everywhere. Okay, then once the information is auto-filled, there are some information we need to do it by manually, because there is a requirement that you need to check whether the whatever suspect drug is entered is correct. Okay, for clinical trial, we generally use only generic name. We are not using a brand name. And for spontaneous report, we need to use a brand name plus generic name for data entry. Please note that this is important, and this is the difference between spontaneous and clinical. Okay, then we need to check whether we have reported the event correctly. Okay, suppose patient is having adverse drug reaction of stomach pain. Okay, stomach pain, and in the database I have entered only pain. Okay, so this is incorrect. What I need to enter correctly as stomach pain only. Generally, there is a thumb rule to report event, report as it is. Whatever is there in the form, you need to report as it is only. Okay. Then, okay, what we need to enter, we need to check. We need to check for drug. If we have correct suspected drug, then we need to check for event. Then we need to check if any diagnosis has been done, like X-ray, okay, blood related test like blood glucose level, creatinine, and all that. Then MRI. Okay, whatever diagnosis has been done, we need to enter that. Okay, so this is the, you can say, the data entry that we need to do. Okay, after doing this data entry, the next important step is your narrative writing. Okay, so whatever data entry you done, starting from your first step to your last step, okay, you need to write a story. Narrative writing is this is altogether a very big topic. We'll cover this tomorrow. Just to give a brief, narrative writing means you need to write a story of your case, adverse drug reaction. Okay, and just to give a clue, when this case has been submitted to regulatory authority, most of the time regulatory authority only check the narrative. They will not check your rest of the data entry. So that means your narrative writing and your narrative will be playing very critical role. Okay, so just to understand you what do you mean by narrative, may please note that narrative means story. As you are explaining, if you saw some movie and if you want to explain to your friend, you are explaining that I saw that movie, and you start explaining the story of that movie, and you will explain that in sequence. Okay, so sequential description of your film is your narrative. Same way, sequential, where the another word for that sequence is chronology. Like you need to start from one, then you need to explain two, then you need to explain three, then you need to explain four. Likewise, you can't explain four first and then you explain first and then you explain third. This will not allow while writing your narrative. Okay, so make sure you need to write your narrative in chronological order. After writing your narrative, it will go to your regulatory authority, and as per your narrative and description of the event, regulatory authority has to take some action. Okay, so this is the basic workflow of your case processing in pharmacovigilance. Okay, and we'll see everything in detail tomorrow. Okay, and I'll just explain that process flow one more time, and we'll touch base this by tomorrow. We are here. If you see what I explain you, there are mainly two sources. Spontaneous source is your unsolicited source, unstructured source, and study. And study means your clinical trial. Study means study of your drug. It's your solicited and structured source. Okay. So what the spontaneous source also cover? Your healthcare profession that we already explained. Consumer, those who are taking the drug, lawyer, and regulatory authority. The regulatory authority, by looking for some social media where some adverse drug reaction, so it comes to your spontaneous report. There is one report called integrity reports. Like there is one there is a study going on hydroxychloroquine to find out is there. Past study, historical study. It comes under literature reports. It's this is in structure format. Okay, and regulatory reports. It's like a regulatory reports. If they have any past data, they will the connection to your study. Okay, so whatever sources are available, they all sources came to you. Then you need to what you need to do. You need to do the data entry. As I mentioned, some data entry are done automatically. There are some auto fields are there, and some we need to do a manual. So this is your first step: collection of cases. All cases are collected in your database. This is your second step. Third step is your data entry. As in this phase, data second phase, there are some field which are auto filled, but then also we need to check all auto field. Then you need to do the data entry here, complete data entry. Then you need to do the data review. Whatever data entry you done, it should be accurate, perfect, and as per the requirement of your regulatory authority. You need to do the data review, and then you need to do the evaluation. What you need to do is evaluation that whether the drug adverse drug reaction reported is related, not related, or you are not aware how that adverse drug reaction is there. That comes under the evaluation part. After evaluation, you need to write output, means you need to write your narrative. This is your output where you write your narrative, and as per your narrative, action has been taken. Like in some case, you need to report all reports to a regulatory report, means a regulatory authority. So please note that all serious and fatal, means all serious adverse event has to be reported to regulatory authority. If any non-serious events are there, we will not report, but all serious event, including mostly your fatal and like threatening event, you need to report to the regulatory authority. Okay, so this is one. Then there is a safety update. So there is a requirement for some countries to update the safety information periodically. Like for USFDA, thrice in a month you need to report the safety update of your pharmaceutical product. Then response to the query. If any query has been asked by regulatory agency, you need to respond to that. And signal generation. What do you mean by signal generation? Signal detection. This is very, very important topic that we will cover tomorrow. So this is the what we call as the process of data entry of pharmacovigilance, and this is the basic workflow. You can go anywhere, you can go to any company. The basic skeleton will remain same. There will be just one or two plus and minus steps here and there, but the basic data entry process and the skeleton will be the remain as it is. Okay, with this I think I will take a pause, and will open session for question answer, and we'll have some question um, for 5 to 10 minutes. You can post your question, and then we can wind up today's session. And tomorrow we are going to cover signal detection, causality assessment, and narrative writing. Okay, so you can post your questions. Okay, so I can see one question: which company are available in India as the most important scope to PV? So there are some outsourcing company, as I mentioned already, uh, like TCS is a TCS, Cognizant. These are the outsourcing company which are uh, you can say the major. They are paying like they are playing a major role. They are having many projects of pharmacovigilance from all over the world. Cognizant is also having many projects for pharmacovigilance, device management, clinical data management. So in India, we have TCS, Cognizant, then we have Skyformix, then we have a Quintiles, which is a CRO. They are having a clinical research unit as well, and PV unit as well. And there are some parent pharma, they are doing their own novartis, then Glaxo, Nicholas Pyramid, likewise. Does one more question? Does SAS programming will be beneficial in pharma? Yes, as I mentioned, the SAS is a statistical analysis. Okay, which is the part of your clinical research. These are interrelated to each other. If you aware about the pharmacovigilance process, if you aware about the clinical data management, so whatever data is coming to you need to do the statistical analysis for that data, and you need to extrapolate then you need to find out the results. And mostly in SAS, we got the data from clinical data management, related to study, related to dosing, they are related to their diagnostic, you can say the test. And as per that, you need to do the statistical analysis. So there is a correlation between SAS and PV as well. That will be definitely useful. Any more question? If anyone has any question. So I can see one more question from Abhijit Patil. Will post-graduation be a more beneficial in case processing of pharmacovigilance? Yes, if you are doing a post-graduation, so if you are talking about B Pharm and M Pharm, okay, so actually this is the fact, there is a marginal, you can say, the difference between the B Pharm and M Pharm, because most of the time what I was in a Cognizant, I am taking interview for B Pharm and M Pharm. So with the, if you are talking about the salary point of view, so there is no huge difference between the B Pharm and M Pharm. If anyone want to make a career in a field of pharmacovigilance or clinical research, they can directly go and apply on the basis of B Pharm as well. If you are going for some parent pharma with F&D, R&D like thing, then there will be definitely, you can say, use of your post graduation. But if you are going for clinical research, okay, so there is a very marginal difference between B Pharm, M Pharm, or any other certification. So it will be near about the same for both the courses. Any question? One question from, okay, how pharmacovigilance is helpful in a condition like COVID? Okay, so as you see, the definition of pharmacovigilance, it generally deals with the adverse drug reaction, okay, and monitoring and analysis of adverse drug reaction. Okay, now in a COVID situation, if you know, we do not have a specific drug treatment for COVID, but for some patient, they are trying hydroxychloroquine. For some patient, they are trying some vaccines. For some patient, they are trying something different. If any adverse drug reactions are there with the therapy in the condition of COVID, there is one team there. They are documenting everything from all over the world, which comes under WHO, and they are collating the data, and that data will be definitely going to useful. Because if suppose I am trying a plasma therapy in India, if it is useful, and but with that plasma therapy there are some adverse drug reaction occurred with some other drug, okay, so I need to inform that as well, so that whenever any part of the world, if any plasma therapy is there along with some drug, so they will alert, they will have high alert that they may have some type of reactions, so that in that way they are useful. But I do not have exact information whether they are really working with the pharmacovigilance unit in COVID situations. Any more question?
Okay. Due to lack of time limitation
Mhm.
or due to time limitation, we are very sorry to students whose questions remain to answer. But don't worry, tomorrow again we will have Sachin sir with us. So here time comes to conclude the session. On behalf of Fraternity of Kokang and P. Rahul Dhaker College of Pharmacy and Research Institute, I, Poonam Patil, take this opportunity to extend hearty thanks to Mr. Sachin Tadge for his wonderful second session on the fourth day of Student Development Program on career opportunities in various fields of pharmacy. His insightful lecture on pharmacovigilance and case processing was full of wisdom and information. I would also like to thank our principal, Dr. Mohan Kale, to being the source of motivation all the time. I am also thankful to our organizing team, Dr. Amol Sandekar, coordinator of this event, Dr. Vaishali Jadhav, Mr. Ajay Kharse, and Mr. Amol Borade for their continuous assistance during the session. Last but not in the list, I am very much thankful to dear participants for actively participating in the session. I hope you have come away with concepts of pharmacovigilance and case processing, which would be beneficial to you at the time of interview preparation and in the career making in pharmacovigilance. Before closing today's session, I would like to remind you about tomorrow's session at the same time at 11 a.m. and with same amazing trainer, Mr. Sachin Tadge. Till then, stay happy, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.